It's 5 o'clock. I will call the September 14th meeting of the Sumner County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Let the record show that Ms. Harrison is not here. Any changes to the, well, we'll go to the minutes. Is there any changes to the minutes, or I'll take a motion to approve? We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. I point out that there were a couple of small changes that from the ones we got originally to the ones now, but they were corrected. So all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say the minutes are approved. Any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
In that case, as John, you want to go ahead and enter the meeting materials in the record?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter the Sumner County zoning resolution, our current version, effective June 29th, I'm sorry, I apologize, June 26th, 2023. I'd like to enter that into the record as Exhibit A. For Exhibit B, I'd like to enter in the meeting packet materials that were distributed to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the County Commission, and applicants, or applicants representatives, or folks that are on the regular agenda here this evening. And I'd like to enter that meeting packet into the record as Exhibit B. Next, I would like to enter in the final staff presentation that will be given here this evening as Exhibit C. And then I'll go ahead, it's okay, Mr. Chairman, and enter in a letter that we received from Kelly and Smith Law Offices as Exhibit D related to the 500 Doris Road item, and it's number 1 on the regular agenda. That's as Exhibit D. And then as Exhibit E, there are several letters that were provided by Mr. Kelly. These are letters of support that were provided for the application on 500 Doris Road. That would be Exhibit E.
Is there a motion to accept all exhibits A through E into the record? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Okay, all of those documents, A through E, are in down the record. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. I will read each one. If any member of the board wishes to remove an item, please say so. And then I'll ask the public if anyone wants to remove an item.
And Mr. Chairman, I will say to cut down on you having to read through all these, I believe staff would like to have item 1 taken off consent agenda. This is one that was approved about 8 years ago, the 318 North Road item, and we just would like to get an update, if it might be okay, from the applicant for the Board of Zoning Appeals on the status of this way. Yes, sir. And it hasn't been operated yet, so we won't get an update. And then item number 3 as well. It's my understanding that a portion of the permit has changed. The permit was issued for a hair salon and gym. I don't believe they're conducting the hair salon activity anymore. And so just for the minutes, if it would be okay, we'd like to pull that off as well so that they can discuss that item with the Board of Zoning Appeals and the current status.
Without objection, we'll add items 1 and 3 on the regular agenda after the first item on the regular agenda. So we have 1 item number 2, called Michael Herman, 1003 D Diamond Pike, Tennessee. Anyone wish to remove that from the consent agenda? Seeing no one, would anyone from the public like to discuss item number 2, Paul Michael Herman, 1003 B Diamond Pike, for a home-based business car restoration? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing And I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second? We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion to keep carried unanimous. First item on the regular agenda, Sumner County staff. Josh?
Yes, sir. Let me just scroll down to that, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for a zoning determination that's been submitted by Sumner County staff to the County Board of Zoning Appeals. For this property located at 500 North Road in Portland. The property owner is Sumner Family Holdings, that are represented by Phil Kelly, who's an attorney who's representing them here this evening. What staff is requesting is determination from the County Board of Zoning Appeals related to whether proposed expansion of an existing legal non-conforming or grandfathered salvage yard use complies with applicable county requirements related to expansion of non-conforming industrial uses. This piece of property is located in what was the Portland planning region, now the former Portland planning region, where they had planning and zoning jurisdiction for many years. The Sumner County assumed zoning jurisdiction for this area on action of the Sumner County Commission. That was effective July 1st, 2020. And we do have documentation from the city where they provided document, they actually provided the city the documentation to the property owners confirming the existing salvage yard use as a legal non-conforming use. And so there's no question, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, there's no question before the board today that the salvage yard use that's there today is a legal non-conforming use. It's grandfathered is the term that people use. It can continue in perpetuity. It has an entitlement to do so per the state law. The question is related to some proposed changes that they're making to it. They're pretty unusual in nature, and so the staff wanted to refer them to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get an opinion and determination from the BZA on them like that. This piece of property contains 10.2 more acres. It's zoned rural residential. Adjoining property owners were notified by certified mail in accordance with the county zoning resolution, and it was advertised in the Gallatin News and the Newsville Standard as well on August 31st, 2023, which is more than 10 days prior to the meeting, which is a requirement of the county zoning resolution. The public notice that was in the paper here in the Gallatin News is here, letting everybody know that there will be a meeting of the subject of the meeting will be. This is from the tax map showing the parcel in question along Norris Road. Mr. Chairman, this is an aerial pulled back pretty far. Let's corner here. This is the subject properties here along Norris Road. You see the new Highway 109. This is the Portland city limits, following the old Highway 109, Academy Road here. So just kind of put it in perspective, it's just southwest of the city of the Portland city limits. Zooming on in a little closer, this is the subject property as it is, with the salvage yard activity being conducted on site. Did a pretty good illustration of that there. Staff went out and took pictures. This item had to be deferred last month due to a defect with the public notice. We wanted to make sure that was done right, so we re-advertised it for this meeting. But staff went out in July and took pictures of the subject properties. I understand that nothing has substantially changed since then. And this is just to illustrate what the property looks like. You see the public notice sign that's required to be posted out front. Staff was allowed to go into the site and to make an inspection of it and take photographs for the Board of Zoning Appeals, which they did. We see existing buildings there and cars as part of the salvage use. We'll just continue to run through photos. So, as far as the, courts, we call it a term for jurisdiction, I guess, the Board of Zoning Appeals referred, is that, the county zoning resolution and state law as well vests the board of zoning appeals with the powers to, as you see number 4 there, hear and decide all special questions or other matters referred to it on which is required to act under this resolution. And so this is a special question that's been referred to by staff. This is documentation from the city of Portland that we use basically as the basis for our determination that this is a grandfathered use. That's from the Planning and Code Department of the city of Portland back in 2012, around the time that I think these folks purchased this property. And just to clarify that point there, non-conforming grandfathered use is own the land. They don't cease upon the sale of the property. That's a misunderstanding some people have. It can be sold in perpetuity as long as it maintains the use and doesn't cease operations for 30 consecutive months. That grandfather status continues. So the applicants came to the county planning office, and as everybody else does, they made a zoning compliance request, trying to figure out whether what they're proposing to do satisfies zoning requirements and could be proceeded with. What they stated that they want to do, and I'll just read from it, maybe a joint venture with Bay Metals, maybe just lease the Bay Metals to do the following, put in scales to weigh and buy scrap and non-ferrous metals, number 1. Number 2, shipping and loading trucks and shipping containers. 3, possibly build a done building. See site plan. And so there was a site plan that was provided here that showed the property in general and where a scale would go, which is right here, and a potential proposed building here. As you see, it's right on the setback line and adjoining the office building that you have there. So obviously, this is not the scale. This is not an ideal site plan. Not an ideal description. I'm sorry about that. And that's the description's been rectified to some extent. But the site plan, this is what we have right here. And so what happened was they came by to meet with me. I don't have that date in front of me right now, but a meeting was scheduled between the property owners and myself. And I let them know that this was a pretty complex matter. I wasn't sure on what kind of determination might need to be made based on the zoning code. And I was probably going to refer to the board of zoning appeals, which we did. Back, I think it was last week, Mr. Phil Kelly provided this letter here. They provide a little bit more detail. This was furnished to the Board of Zoning Appeals in advance of the meeting as well, so that you guys can get a better idea about what was proposed. So the point basically where this request comes into contact with the Sumner County zoning resolution is in Chapter 13, Section 1302, subsection I. And I would note that these county provisions are taken from state law. They're not verbatim, but they're pretty close. Found at TCA Title 13, 7208. And the provisions here in the county zoning code were written to mirror those in state law. You can see what this deals with is non-conforming industrial and commercial uses. So there's a specific section that deals with industrial non-conforming uses such as this. You see 1 through 4 here. 5 was not included in this slide because that deals with discontinuations of grandfathered uses. That's not applicable. And 7 is related to non-conforming uses that have a government contract with the state and federal government. That's also not applicable as far as I know. And so what is applicable though is this section right here. And I'm going to read it into the record. What it says is industrial or commercial uses that become non-conforming under this resolution shall be permitted to expand operations and construct additional facilities that involve an actual continuance and expansion of the activities of the industry or business that existed prior to the effective date of this resolution, provided that there is a reasonable amount of space for such expansion on the property owned by such industry or business situated within the area which is affected by the change in zoning so as to avoid nuisances to adjoining landowners. So what that's saying is that the uses that become non-conforming under this resolution, so it became non-conforming in July 1st, 2020, when county zoning was applied. That's when it became a non-conforming use for Sumner County. expand. Provided that what they're doing is a continuation, it's an actual continuance and expansion of the activities of the industry or business that existed prior to July 1st, 2020. So we'll look at that and how the zoning code classifies these two uses. So that's kind of item one. The next item is provided that there's a reasonable amount of space for such expansion on the property owned by such industry, so as to avoid nuisances to adjoining landowners. Really, that's where the Board of Zoning Appeals interpretation comes in. Is there adequate space? First, actually, is the use continuation of the existing use, number one. Number two, is there adequate space on site for them to do this without causing problems to adjoining landowners? And this is from TCA 137208. We don't interpret state law in the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's for the courts to do and the law office, but I will say that the language that's here in the state law is pretty much the same as what's in our zoning code. So the current use, if we look at the county zoning resolution, it's a motor vehicle junkyard. I think that's an apt way of describing it. It was the closest description I could find of what I see out there. And that's a scrap operation. It's the activity classification, right? So the specific use is not motor vehicle junkyard, activity classification is scrap operations. The proposed use, the best way I can classify that based on the information that I had, they're going to be bringing in non-ferrous metals. I interpret that to be copper and aluminum and other similar type metals to be brought in, that will be purchased and then sold elsewhere or processed on site. So it's essentially scrap metal that's being processed and moved somewhere else. So we have a use that's scrap and waste processing, which I felt was appropriate for the proposed use. It's also scrap operations. And so essentially, they're the same. I think that at least a high-level staff determination would be the existing use and the proposed use is the same per the zoning code. They come back to scrap operations. And so we'll go back to the text of the zoning code, and the side one is, is it an actual continuance and expansion of the activities of the industry? I think from staff perspective, the BZA may disagree with this. From staff perspective, yes. Number two, is there a reasonable amount of space for such expansion on the property owned by such industry or business, so as to avoid nuisances to adjoining landowners? And so, I just said what's on this slide here. That's a question for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and likewise, the board may feel like these are two very different uses, and I made an error there in that interpretation. But the question really before the BZA that you're being requested to answer this evening is there a reasonable amount of space for such expansion on the property owned by such business or industry or business, so as to avoid nuisances to adjoining landowners? If there is, then I believe you could say that the requirements for the expansion of non-conforming use are met. If there's not adequate space, based on what you see on the property, then perhaps it's not been met. And so, Mr. Chairman, there's example motions there on the screen. Saying basically what I said there. The example motion number one would be to find that the uses and improvements proposed for 500 North Road do meet applicable requirements related to expansion of non-conforming industrial use outlined in Chapter 13, Section 1302, Subsection I, County Zoning Resolution. 2 would be to find that they do not meet those requirements. And 3 would be to defer a decision on this item in order to obtain additional information, such as a site plan, other materials like that, something a little more professional from the applicant. As I noted earlier, Mr. Philip Kelly, the representative, is in attendance here this evening. Yes, sir, we have 2 folks that are signed up. So.
This public hearing. I'd like to hear from the folks that have signed up to read the name.
Yes, sir. The first person signed up is, it looks like it's Mickey Hodge, 2233 Highway 76, Portland.
And what I do is ask the person that would like to speak to come forward, if you'd like to say your name, use the microphone, and limit your time to about 3 minutes.
My name is Vicky Hodge, and I am an adjoining property owner, but my property is to the back side of the auto parts. And I want to say they've always been good neighbors, I want to say y'all sent notices to adjoining property owners, but this also affects the people who live on Norris Road. There's approximately 145 properties that use Norris Road. There's subdivisions out there. You can see from this map all the property lines out there. So my question is, first of all, has there been an impact study on what type of traffic this is going to do to that road? It's a secondary, little narrow, curvy road. And are there going to be more trucks coming in? Are there going to be dump trucks, tractor-trailer trucks? And is the county prepared to maintain that road with that additional traffic? And all of these properties out there are zoned as residential or agricultural, with the exception of the one piece of property for state-owned auto parts, and for tax purposes, it's classed as commercial. So you see it's in the middle of all the area around it is nothing but residential and agriculture. And also, I noticed on the presentation, you quoted the law that said that industrial and commercial uses that become non-conforming under this resolution shall be permitted to expand operations and construct additional facilities. Well, I want to emphasize the word become. This business started almost 50 years ago. It was non-conforming 50 years ago. It wasn't just non-conforming in 2020 when the county took over. It was non-conforming before that. And they were started when there were probably little or no regulations, and it hasn't just become non-conforming, it has always been non-conforming and always been zoned as rural residential. And in your regulations that you adopted, 1302A1 states, in no event shall a non-conforming use be converted to another non-conforming use. And then in B2, it specifically addresses salvage centers, which y'all noted on there that it is a salvage yard, okay, salvage center. It states a non-conforming salvage center use type, a non-conforming salvage center use type may not be expanded in any manner. Another problem I have is the request, it talks about they maybe do this and maybe do that. How do we know exactly what they're going to do if it's just maybe have a joint venture or maybe build another building or maybe lease out a building? The residents out there need to know what exactly they're going to do, because once it's approved, then how do we know if they follow through with what was approved? I know the purpose of the zoning is to protect the people in the communities, protect their health, safety, general welfare, and I understand this was grandfathered in, and like I said, I have no problem with state-owned auto parts. They've been good neighbors, and but allowing them to expand into another type of business, in my opinion, would be a contradiction under zoning regulations that you have, where it refers to the salvage yard expansion. And thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Just coming to the next person, son to speak, and I believe it's the applicant, Terry Trump.
There is one cheating outside of this city.
6 Doors Road, so I'm exactly next door to these guys. My front entrance is right by their front entrance. Didn't know I was going to speak tonight, so. Great neighbors. Anything that they're doing still within that property, I don't have any issues with. You know, according to the diagram, it would still be on the property if they got in there. If there is other traffic, I would probably be the person who is most, see it the most, and I have no concerns about it. And that's really it. I have no concerns over what they do. If they say they're going to do something, that's what they're going to do. They're good, honest guys, and they've helped me out. I've been here 5.5 years now, and is that okay? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the last one I'm to speak is Terry Sherman.
I own,
State your name.
okay, my name's Terry Schrum, and I own the salvage yard, myself and my husband, and my son runs the yard. And as far as ferrous and non-ferrous metals, we already have those kinds of things on the yard anyway. And she was talking about the joint venture that we're going to have. Before we could tell these people yes or no we're going to do anything, we wanted to make sure that we could do anything. I mean, we could have opened the yard and then, y'all come shut us down. And we just had the state come in yesterday, gave us a clean bill of health. We have the thing that he gave us, what are you going to call it? And he said we were one of the cleanest yards he'd been in. And we try to keep it that way. And as far as the traffic, basically what we want to do is put a large scale in and then buy from the public. And then we buy that stuff and then we bring trailers in and reload it and resell it. So it's really not much of anything different that we've been doing, because when we disassemble those cars, we don't sell everything we disassemble off of them. We bring trailers in there and ship it down to like PSC and SA and different places like that. Bay Nails is another place we do business with. And they come in and bring their tractor trailers in and load up just like everybody else does. And we crush the cars and load those out. So it's not really anything any different than what we're doing. It's just there will be public coming in. Public comes in now and buys parts. And up and down Norris Road, there's plenty of dump trucks. We see all the time coming down through there, dump trucks and tractor trailers. Matter of fact, there's a stop sign there. Most of them don't stop at it, so you gotta watch where you're going around there. And yes, sir.
I have a question. Will your hours of operation change?
No, sir.
And what are
They're from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We don't work weekends.
they?
Yes, sir.
Does any member of the board have a question? I'll be on. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Rainey. I'd like to bring Mr. Mike Strong. John Strong, excuse me. Because he's the one who's managing the business. And I'd like if Mr. Sutherland would put some photographs back on the screen for us to look at. So, yeah, in other words, but one of the things is expansion into whether or not we have the expansion to, is it going to affect now, Mr. Strong, is that all that property, how many acres is it?
Almost 11.
And is all of it fenced in with a private fence?
Yes.
And so what you're saying there, is there adequate space to add scales in there and to build that building, which will be adjacent to the office that's already there?
Yes, sir.
Now,
The land, we're still gonna do salvage cars, but there's gonna be only like 8 rows of cars up there. The rest would be cleared off. Most of that back is already cleared off anyway. We're gonna clear it off and kind of split the yard to keep our salvage and to be able to do the scrap or the aluminum or whatever.
Now, you're saying that you're going to be buying scrap metal from the public or from industry, I guess.
Yes, sir.
But you're not actually doing any processing, are you? You're not doing any smelting, there's no heating process,
No,
there's no
no.
cutting or anything like that.
There won't be any, sometimes you have to cut, and we have to cut now, with cars, but there's no like smelting process, no big, I don't know.
No melting process.
No melting, smelting, none of that kind of
So,
stuff.
so you're not in the processing part of changing the metal to like a ingot or something like that?
No, we do have to process it to, separate the metals and that kind of stuff, but that's it. We're just basically a recycling center, is all it will be.
Maybe that's what I should have said. So you're going to really recycle it. You're not going to be melting or anything, changing.
We're not turning it into the end product, no, we're just doing
And so the trucks will come in, and they will unload it, there'll be weight, obviously.
yes,
And then you'll be selling it, and the trucks will come in and buy it and take it off site.
yes, sir.
And you'll have your sellers to load it, but much like you're doing now with automobiles, if you're crushing automobiles.
I crushed, about a month ago, I crushed 400 cars. I had 20 semis come in. They do not use Doris Road. One, they can't make the turn into my property off of Doris Road. They actually use North Center Point, which is the road that is directly in front of my gate. Yeah, North Center Point, which comes off of 109. It's too hard for a tractor trailer to make a turn off the Doris off of 76. So I instruct all of even our trucks, we have big trucks too, they use North Center Point.
But the trucks come into the yard, and they're able to negotiate the yard, come in, turn around, and exit the yard.
Yeah, they're not-
on the highway to do the exit.
No, they're all, everything's in the yard. They just drive down the road into our facility.
What do you anticipate maybe any additional traffic than what's already coming in and out of the yard?
As far as the trucks, probably wouldn't, like I said, I brought 20 trucks in the other week and nobody had any complaints about them. And I'm talking about semis, big trucks, not short trucks. Public-wise, in the beginning, a day, maybe 10 to 15 at the most in the beginning. I don't see it getting there. Our other place in Davidson County, we have about 30 to 40 a day. That's it. And that's nothing. So,
So there's not going to be any exhaust or fumes or pollution that will be emitted from the site?
no, we're basically doing the same thing, just different material. So,
No questions I have. Ms. Webster, Mr. Harrison, have a question?
Does anybody from the board have a question? I'll look for the question.
And I apologize, but I have, I think, a couple of letters brought in to the meeting, and Mr. Sutton had a chance to comment, but these are neighbors who are in support for having on challenge.
Yes, we have entered these into the record.
I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody's got about it. I'm not trying to hide anything, just trying to make our business better.
I wanted just for the board to see how clean that church is. Of course, most of us, Mr. Raymond's been up there for years and years, but it's very well maintained. You can see that the yard is clean compared to some others, so I just want to make sure that the board sees how clean that yard is.
Our stormwater guys were there, the Tennessee State stormwater, we have to take water samples every year. And they said that we've never had a bad sample. They said the yard was clean. They said it was one of the cleanest ones they visited this year. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that here to speak to this request that is not spoken? Seeing no one will close the public hearing. What's the will of the board? Discussion? I think we have a pretty clear understanding of the zoning resolution where Josh had showed the comparison between a junkyard and a scrapyard and recycling. As I see it, all we're doing is changing the size of material they're recycling. From an automobile down to something smaller, but it's, in theory, it looks to me like it's the same process, the same thing. Now, one thing that possibly, and Josh should have answered this, if the change of operation could be monitored for 2 years and make sure that nothing really else has changed before it's fully adopted.
I don't think so. I don't think so, and the reason why is that this isn't a conditional use permit or special exception that's coming before the board of zoning appeals or even variance that maybe you could impose that as a condition. I think this is more of a legal non-conforming use that can do what it does. Yes, sir.
So it's pretty clear we have a choice of, is this conforming with what's grandfathered in or is it not? Discussion or motion?
I just got a question for Josh. I think I understand this right. The building that's shown from the back of the office looks like it's going to have a wall adjacent to the exterior property line, short section. But as I understand it, there's a fence there now, and they'll be replacing that fence. Is that correct?
I believe so. Like I said, the site plan that was provided is far from ideal. And if the board of zoning appeals wants a better plan for the record, a deferral on the side would be appropriate, frankly. That said, the zoning code does, and I believe state law as well also states that any yard requirements and that kind of thing for any new construction that they're going to do will need to be our setback requirements. So they won't be able to put that building on the property line like they're showing there. They will have to pull it back. At least, I guess that would be a 20-foot setback there. And so any buildings that they're going to build, that they would have to go to the planning commission as well to get site plan approval.
That answers my question.
Well, it looks to me there's not a big change in use here, and they do have space to do it. It's already fenced, good operation, sounds like to me. And the buildings like they were talking about, whatever they do out there, I have to go back through and planning and everything, all right? So I'd make a motion for exact motion number one.
I'd second that.
We have a motion, example motion number one, that the site does meet the requirements, and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign.
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Next item on the agenda, Frank and Donald Cartwright, 318 Torrance Road, Portland. Josh?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, this is a request for continuation of a conditional use permit for a piece of property located on Corinth Road. This was approved back in 2015 by the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow the property to be used as a wedding and event venue. Such property has 92.5 acres, some rural residential. For all these renewals of these permits, we send regular mail notice to the adjoiners, and that was done for this one. This is the subject property. This is the site plan to kind of show you this was the site plan that was turned in back in 2015 for a new application coming through that's seeking a special board of zoning appeals, the conditional use permit, a lot more detail would be required, obviously, but at the time, this was sufficient. There's a big location here, and parking, and there's a barn structure, as well, that was shown by the property owner. It was approved, without any conditions imposed on it, back in September of 2015. To my knowledge, this has not progressed. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to put it on the regular agenda and have the property owners come and give an update to the board of zoning appeals to see when this might start operations. If this was a new permit that came through today, basically you have 2 years to do something with it if the plan lapses or the approval lapses. And so this has been 8 years now. I'm not sure that the ending can move forward. One thing that has occurred though, I believe, and I don't know whether there's actually 2 conditional use permits for this one. The property owners reminded me of that, and Kathy did a couple weeks ago too, and I forgot. But there's 2 conditional use permits for this property. One is for the winery. There's a winery vineyard that's there on site. The other is for the wedding and venue use. And so there's a structure there that's noted on the site plan that my understanding was to be used at one point anyway as part of the use. That may have changed. That I need to update the board on that. Marshall Wright had gone to the site in 2019, and what he asked these folks to do is have a design professional submit the life safety page, accessibility page, and comment on the structural integrity of the building. Also calculate the occupancy load. I don't know that any of those have been received. Covered Office sent that to us a couple days ago, or something to include here at the meeting, just as an FYI to the board. Sat around and took pictures a few days ago. As you see, there's the barn structure. The property owner told me got hit by lightning the other day and got a sizable hole kind of knocked through it, basically. It's a good image of that, I'm sure. But as I said, no weddings or events or anything like that happen here on this property. In a number of years it's been approved. This is the grapes that they've got planted there for the winery that they're proposing to do. I don't know that that's different permit, but next time that one comes up, we'll discuss that one as well. Example motions there on the screen to approve or deny this continuation. As I mentioned, the property owner is in attendance tonight, and the board might want to get that date from them to see where this is. The owners signed up to speak.
Mr. and Mr. Kirkbride, would you care to come forward and talk to us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Zoning Appeals and staff. My name is Frank Kirkbride. I reside at 318 Corinth Road, the location of the proposed event facility. Back in 2018, 2019, when it was first approved, I have made improvements to the property. In particular, I actually cleared a lot of the right-of-way road, the overhanging trees, cleared it up quite a bit. And since then, I've also built a vineyard, and the vineyard was going to be part of the ambiance. I was going to ask you, Josh, if you can show like an aerial, if you can show an aerial photograph. So back in about 2019, I did go ahead and make improvements to the property. I actually widened, cleared a lot of the trees that led to the property in the back. I planted a new vineyard as part in the vicinity of the barn and as part of the ambiance of a wedding venue. Of course, as Josh correctly mentioned, it's also part of my winery operations, and I come before this Board of Zoning Appeals every other year. In addition to that, I actually constructed a very small, it's about 180-foot diameter circle comprised of beams spaced periodically to kind of identify or define a particular area where wedding events could take place, so perhaps putting up a tent, things like that. In addition to that, I have the dust-proof barrier, an area where cars can park. And I was looking at a venue of about 50 to 100 people. It's not a large facility. I don't want a large amount of people up there. It was meant to be a small, intimate setting. Like I said, you can always put up a tent. There is power to the site. There's power to my barn as well. And thinking about the barn facility as part of my winery operations, I also thought it might be a good opportunity to make improvements to the barn, which I have done. I put in a concrete floor, trench drains. The barn is structurally sound, although I also agree with Marshall Wright at the time to go ahead and get guess it's called a life safety study done. In fact, I had contacted an individual to do that. I was ready to do it. Without getting into too much detail, back in about 2019, my brother contracted cancer. And my brother lived in Florida with my then probably 90-year-old mother. And I was their caregiver for the last 7 years. So a lot of my plans got put on hold. My brother recently passed away. My mother, who's now going to be 98 years old next month, is now living in this area. And I'm in the process of putting her in an assisted living facility. So to make a long story short, life got in the way. And an insult to injury about 2 months ago, thank God I wasn't sitting at the desk in my barn, it was struck by lightning. And it blew a hole about the size of those windows on one side of the wall. I've been trying to get a contractor up there to help me fix it. It took a timber about 6 inches square, made toothpicks out of it. And so I can't get anybody to help me, so my son and I are going to try and actually repair the barn. So my intent was always to do a life safety study for the barn itself. The barn is structurally sound in my opinion, but I understand I need the life safety code for exit signs and stuff like that. But for right now, that was really an afterthought. My main intent for the event was simply to keep it very simple. Make sure I had a clear access road to the facility, I had my dust-proof parking area, I had an area identified in this large 10-acre field where the wedding events could take place, and access to power. All of those things have been met, with the exception of the fact that now that my mom's going into an assisted living facility in the next 2 weeks, I'm hoping to get back on track to actually start marketing the facility, because I have had people come up to me and ask to conduct weddings up there, but I simply did not have the time or the desire, to be quite honest about it, to actually do anything with it. And that, coupled with the fact that my wife and I had COVID 3 times, didn't help either. So it's just been a kind of a challenging 8 years for me.
So you're asking for us to grant a 2-year continuance?
I would like to do that. I would like to get back on track. And I'm just thankful to God I wasn't sitting at that desk when that lightning hit. Because it did a lot of damage.
Board have any questions of Mr. Kirkbride?
Yes, sir, I have one question, Mr. Kirkbride.
Yes, sir.
So when you get back on track, as you say, what do you anticipate as far as number of events and how many people? You're going to do that life safety or that?
My best guess would be is probably during the spring, the summer months, maybe in the fall. I would suspect maybe 1 event per month. Like I said, it's a very small venue. Really what started the initiation, what initiated the whole concept was I was asked by a lot of people if I would have events on my property, because they like it when they go back there. It's 3/4 of a mile off the main road. It's a very nice private setting. And when I started building the vineyards, I have another vineyard, a lower vineyard in one of my fields. A lot of individuals were asking if they could have wedding vineyards. And I said, well, I'm not licensed, I'm not approved to do that. And that's what kind of triggered it. But I think in the meantime, like I said, I think the facility, from a basic event setup where you can set up a tent, it's ready to go. It's just a matter of me marketing it. It's a matter of me getting more involved in actually keeping the facility up to speed. But like I said, in my case, life got in the way. So, but now my life is starting to get to some normalcy, if you can call it.
And you still plan to do that life safety study?
Pardon?
You still plan to do the?
Yes, because what I would like to do is I would like to actually use the barn facility in the event you have a bad weather event. And there was somebody it's an old tobacco barn, and it's in great shape. And I would like to use that facility because I think that's part of the ambiance of having a rural wedding. A tent is nice, you can put a tent anywhere, but using a tobacco barn that's been there for 50 years, that in my opinion, once again, there's power to the barn. It has a concrete floor. Like I said, all I needed to do was complete the process by getting my life safety code done so that, once again, I can be fairly certain, or I want it to be a safe facility, obviously. But like I said, I actually contacted someone to do it, and then all this other stuff. I got sidetracked. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question, I'm not sure if it's for the applicant or Marshall. The life safety study, do they do another structural engineering review if the beam was turned into toothpicks?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm a civil structural engineer myself. I mean, that's what my degree. So I kind of know what they're looking for, but I think at the time it was more the fact that we needed to do things like put exit signs that somebody, needed to exit the facility very quickly. It's a very open barn, it's got double doors on both sides, and they would all be open, but it was minor details like that that at the time, Marshall wanted to make sure that we were taking care of. And like I said, I'll do whatever it takes to keep it safe, obviously. The last thing I want is an unsafe facility, but that's my intent. That's all.
Other questions? Thank you.
Okay, why don't you
No, no.
turn this off?
Discussion. Motion.
Just, and the reason that these are very nice folks, as you can see, this is not anything personal, anything or a problem. There's no problem with this one exactly, but from a staff perspective, we have managed to kind of cull out quite a few of these kind of dead conditional use permits that haven't gone anywhere in a long time over the last few years, and because it's a load on staff, it's something else that the staff has to do as far as mailing out these letters, what sends all these normal property owners and everything else we have to do. And so we do encourage people to either do something with the permit or let it lapse, just let it anyway. So no problem at all with this being approved. Staff has no issue with that. That what we would request, if it's okay with Board of Zoning Appeals, if it's not, that's okay as well. Maybe impose a couple of conditions. One being this needs to be operational prior to with events occurring prior to the next renewal. But however, prior to the events beginning, we need to have that life safety plan and make any other requirements that are required by the codes office in place. And so when they come back next time, if that's not the case, our minutes are going to reflect the recommendation, probably just to declare the permit void at that point.
I think that's a reasonable addition to a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, example motion number 1, to approve the request for 2 years with the additional condition that Josh just mentioned about if it's not operational within that 2 years, it becomes void, and then also a life safety review be performed and then submitted to staff
Prior to.
operation. Yes.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda, Derek Jaworski, requesting a continuation of the conditional use permit 401 Happy Hall Road to conduct a hair salon and gym. John?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman. Oh, everybody, my voice is going to start going. Just 1 second, sorry. Apologies. This is another request for a continuation of the conditional use permit for a piece of property located on Happy Hall Road. This is the approvals that were granted back in, or the approval that was granted back in 2017, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, it was for hair salon. A couple of things that transpired over the last couple of years. First, these folks, I believe they discontinued the hair salon use, and in addition, they gained a site plan approval to move the gym use to another location off of New Oak Road. So that may have not transpired. There may be site difficulties and that kind of thing, but I was hoping that the applicant could clarify the status of everything at this time for the Board of Zoning Appeals. And these are the pictures that we took here. And there's example motions there on the screen, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jaworski, would you be here to come forward and tell us anything?
My name is Derek Jaworski. Sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Derek Jaworski. I live at 401 Happy Hall Road. We got the conditional use permit 2017. This will be the last one that we're going to be asking for. We are going to be moving off the site, either onto that new site on New Hope Road, or we'll be moving into some franchise options, either in Nashville or in the Henderson area. But this will be our last conditional use permit application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on the board? Thank you. Discussion, a motion?
The Harris line wording would need to be struck off with the example motion there, Mr. Chairman.
A motion, striking the Harris line. A motion,
I'll make a motion, and I'm gonna make a motion, number one, striking the Harris line. I have a question about the motion I'm gonna make, though. He mentioned that at the end of that 2-year period, it was gonna cease. Would it be appropriate to put that in the motion as well? That it just runs for 2 years or just 1?
The applicant's okay with that, if that's what you guys want to do. Plans do change, though, with that kind of thing, it doesn't harm anything either way.
I'm gonna make the motion, just as it reads on motion number one, striking the Harris line. Leave it at that.
we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.
I said, well, I think the secrets, I said, I'll like talk to them after the meeting. That's actually my mom's property, and that's the property that adjoins that junkyard. And so, well, all